Welcome back to Cocktails with Kurt. This is episode 43, where our featured cocktail is the Corpse Reviver 2.
Yes.
Which sounds super, super appetizing, I gotta say. So we selected this particular cocktail for this episode because we're coming up on Halloween and it seemed appropriate.
True, but at the same time, it is a corpse reviver, not a corpse reanimator.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between a zombie and actually bringing someone back to life.
This is more of a resurrection.
Tell us about the history of this and perhaps why it has this name.
Well, corpse revivers are really kind of a class and a family of cocktails that are kind of the hair of the dog thing, hangover cures. That's what the purpose behind these seem to have been. Earliest references are back in the 1860s, so they're the original corpse reviver, possibly the corpse reviver number 1, appears to have been documented at least in the Savoy cocktail book, of which we actually got.
Oh, great.
But the point...
Of course we do.
What?
Nothing. Go ahead. Please continue. So, can you give us a time frame? You know, when did people start talking about this, or where did?
Well, the corpse revivers again first documented in the 1860s ish.
Okay.
And again, it was kind of a family of cocktails. It was not really a specific one. The Savoy cocktail book appears to have been the place where many of them were actually written down for the first time. And that was in the 1930s. And there are lots of variations all over the place. The original corpse reviver, I'm putting that in quotes, was 2 parts brandy, 1 part Calvados, and 1 part Italian vermouth. Italian vermouth is sweet vermouth. Calvados is also an apple brandy. And some variations add a twist of lemon peel as a garnish. We haven't tried that one because Denise doesn't like apple brandy.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Calvados.
Okay. But the Corpse Reviver number 2 on the
So that is still in, I don't know, what?
quote unquote circulation.
So in circulation is a Corpse Reviver number 1.
Yes, that is the Corpse Reviver number 1.
All right, but that's not what we're doing today.
But that's not what we're doing because, again, it's got the apple brandy. Corpse Reviver number 2 appears documented about the same time, again in the Savoy cookbook, or Savoy cocktail book. And like pretty much anything from that long ago, there are lots of variations if you do searches on the internet. Most of those variations end up being either specifying or despecifying the kind of spirit. Or changing the garnish. That really is what the big changes are. Per the Savoy, the original recipe was equal parts dry gin, Cointreau, Quina Lillet, and absinthe. As we just talked about in the absinthe is not an equal part.
Oh, I was going to say, whoa.
Just a dash of the absinthe, sorry.
Being killed by a good and plenty.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's not what it is.
No, just a dash.
Okay.
As we just talked about in the episode on the Vesper, Quina Lillet doesn't exist anymore. So some recipes substitute Lillet Blanc. Some recipes substitute Cocchi Americano. Some recipes use Swedish punch,
That's a whole different
which is a whole
profile.
different beast.
Huh, okay.
Apparently, that's also the version with the Swedish punch. Often is referred to as the Corpse Reviver 2A. So, if there is a differentiation, I'm going to have to try that one at some point, just because it's so different. So, what we're going to be doing is 1 ounce Gordon's.
Gordon's the old standby.
Our old standby. 1 ounce of Cointreau. 1 ounce of Cocchi Americano. And instead of a dash, we're going to do a wash of absinthe, which we've done before. But we'll do it again. So, it is shaken and then strained into a washed cocktail glass.
But you didn't really mention the ingredient that causes it to be shaken.
Oh, I didn't. And lemon juice. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. This is a team effort here.
Team effort here, yes. And that is in the original recipe from the Savoy as well. I just managed to space it. Okay. So, we're making 2 of these today. So, one ounce of gin.
Now, Gordon's is our standby, but is there a reason to choose or avoid any other type of gin? You know, something that's more juniper-y or...
Right. It's a matter of taste.
Okay.
So, not necessarily.
Okay.
We haven't tried it with anything else yet.
So the next thing is Cointreau,
Cointreau.
which, to remind folks, is an orange liqueur.
Yeah, it is often classed as a curacao, which are orange liqueurs based on bitter orange peels from the island of Curacao.
But in a pinch, you could also use triple sec.
You could use triple sec. You could use Curacao.
Well, yeah. I mean, you just said it was curacao, so
Right.
that makes sense.
Yes. An ounce of Cocchi.
Cocchi's been getting a lot of use lately.
It is. And that's one of the reasons I picked this one is because, again, similar substitution with the Vesper as opposed to one of the other possible subs. Freshly squeezed and strained lemon juice, 1 ounce.
So you don't really have to strain it from a taste perspective,
No.
but in order to not have pulp or
And
debris in
it
there.
improves the mouthfeel, among other things. It makes it a cleaner drink in my mouth, in my
Okay.
opinion. All right. So the absinthe does not happen yet. So we're going to shake these up.
Here it comes. Do you think that counts as exercise?
For about 20 seconds it does.
Yeah. Well, don't they say now that that high intensity interval thing is what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
I think that counts.
HIIT training.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be longer than 20 seconds though. All right. And then we're going to do the absinthe
So you've
wash.
chilled the glasses with water and ice
Yep.
for a bit while you...
You can chill them by putting them in the fridge or the freezer. Water and ice does the job very nicely and very quickly. So
remind people about absinthe.
absinthe is a very high alcohol liqueur. As Denise said earlier, it's like a good and plenty.
Yeah, very strong licorice profile. I think in the episode on the Sazerac, we talked a little bit about the history of absinthe
Yep.
and how it used to be outlawed
Yep.
in the United States. Well, then again, alcohol used to be outlawed, right?
Yep.
Or spirits, anyway.
But it was more recently.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly when it was allowed back in the U.S., but bottom line, it was thought to have basically toxic qualities because of, I think, the wormwood.
That sounds about right. So what you're doing there is a wash.
I'm doing a wash. So poured a little bit in the first glass, just ran it around the rims, swapped it over. I will drink this now.
So for those folks out who are thinking, wow, that's just like, performance art out there, this actually does make a big difference to the taste.
Yes.
The absinthe has such a strong flavor that just a little bit that remains in the glass has a big effect on the cocktail. So
Yes.
it's worth it.
And it's, the truth is, even if you're not going to taste it that much, and as Dee said, I think you do, you get the aroma from it. And so you're going to get that if you do the wash well.
Well, and aroma is
Aroma is a huge bit.
a huge part of the flavor.
And that's why we spritz a little bit of orange peel, preferably, hopefully to get the oils out of it, on top of the drink for the same reason. So you really get a blast of orange.
Looking good.
And this is the Corpse Survivor number 2. Until next time.
Cheers.